live 100 kilometers away from nuclear plants. I was at home and I was frightened and I was shaking. I couldn't stop shaking and I couldn't sleep. I lost 4 kilo weight for a week and I couldn't eat anything because I'm scared. Yes, I completely don't trust TV and newspaper. I got information, most of information from Twitter and also someone's famous nuclear activist blog, professor who I can trust. I got those information from there, not on TV and newspaper. Because I could tell that it's fake information and I cannot trust that to save our lives for children.
How can you tell that it's fake?
Well, Twitter information comes before that, and always government gives us wrong issue late, and then couple months later they show the new information, the true information, always late. So I cannot trust to protect our lives, especially children.
What has government told you about radiation levels where you live?
It didn't harm immediately, always say immediately, but it was crisis. So especially food amount of those radiation, it's very high compared to the other countries. If we measure food contaminated nuclear dose, if we trust, we all die. So we don't trust. So now I make school lunch for my child. Even the school provide and say safe, I cannot trust. I said school teacher, I cannot let my son eat your school lunch, so I'm gonna make myself, because to protect my son. I don't trust the school, so who can protect son is just me, mother. So I'll make it, and I didn't let them say no, even though they say I was gonna make it. So I make exactly same that the school provide. But if it's, I think it's dangerous food, I didn't use those food. But I try to make exactly same menu that the school provide. And also when I visit school, I just write down why I come to school to bring things, so that the mother, when some mothers come and see why I come here is because making lunch and bring, so that the other mothers think, oh, she's making lunch, that means school lunch is not safe. So I just keep doing every day. Yes, and the other children is kind of curious what I'm doing. So children see me and, hey, I can bring your lunch to your son. And the children come and they're kind of waiting for me when I go. First time, and some people evacuated. Those people already work for the nuclear against activities. Those people left immediately. But rest of us think we cannot because we have nowhere to go and not ready for evacuation. So we didn't do anything. But if we have support and certain places that we can go, maybe I would have gone. But husband doesn't want to go first, because my family live 3 generations, and I live with mother-in-law, father-in-law, so they said we won't go anywhere. So I cannot leave those 2 old people here, so no choice, just stay here. And we had communication, what would we do if something happen again? And they said we won't go. So I want to bring my son somewhere, but I don't know if things happen. Maybe stay here. I don't know. Even though I know it's dangerous, but no place to go. I don't know. So government, if pay money for that and support, maybe we would go. But no support, no money, no job, it's kind of risk to leave. We don't know. Well, here is not safe, but not so high radiation dose. So there are many people who still live high radiation dose areas. Their crisis, if they were Chernobyl, they already evacuated, but they still live. And some children have problem, and physically problem. I just want to let them go as soon as possible. So government should evacuate them immediately. That's strongly I request now.
The operator of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant is carefully monitoring the number 2 reactor one day after a thermometer topped 80 degrees Celsius. 80 degrees is a benchmark for a state of cold shutdown. The reading of a thermometer near the bottom of the pressure vessel was hovering between 80 and 90 degrees. This is even after plant workers increased the amount of water injected into the reactor. As of 10 a.m. on Monday, the reading rose to 91.2 degrees. Officials of Tokyo Electric Power Company say the thermometer could be malfunctioning. They say 2 others show temperatures of around 33 degrees. They say 3 other thermometers lower down in the reactor show temperatures falling. The spokespersons say TEPCO will continue to carefully monitor the reactor to determine what's causing the high readings.
Tokyo Electric Power Company says a faulty thermometer is likely to blame for the rising temperature at the disabled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. One of the thermometers inside the number 2 reactor started to show high readings late last month. The temperature exceeded 80 degrees Celsius, the critical level, on Sunday. It rose to 94.9 degrees at noon on Monday. The utility says it thinks the thermometer is broken. 2 other instruments in the reactor showed that the temperature dropped to about 33 degrees.
A cable inside the thermometer is probably cut, resulting in a false reading. But since the actual temperature is below 80 degrees, we think the conditions are okay.
TEPCO has received billions in public funds since the March 11 disaster. Now the government is demanding more say in how TEPCO runs its business. Industry Minister Yukio Edano has issued a warning to TEPCO, saying the owner of the crippled Fukushima nuclear plant will not receive public money unless the government gets adequate voting rights in return. Edano told TEPCO President Toshio Nishizawa on Monday that the government will not otherwise accept the business revival plan the utility will be drawing up by the end of March. TEPCO needs a large amount of public funds for compensation for nuclear disaster victims and for thermal power generation.
As long as I am in charge, we will not accept any request for a capital injection unless we get sufficient voting rights that reflect our amount of investment.
Japanese researchers say they have identified genes that cause a type of lung cancer. Researchers at Jichi Medical University and the Japanese Foundation for Cancer Research focused on healthy genes that cause lung adenocarcinoma by mutating with other genes. They say they detected 6 such genes in cancer cells from 1,500 patients and confirmed they trigger cancer in mice. The researchers also say drugs for thyroid cancer, which develops through similar mutations, restricted the functions of the 6 genes and prevented them from becoming cancerous.
The identification will change the diagnosis, classification, and treatment of cancer.
Lung cancer kills more than 60,000 people a year in Japan, the highest among cancers. Around 1% of them are estimated to have at least one of the 6 genes.
notice how weird it starts to get when you just stop breathing?
Good morning, YouTube. I'm seeing a 6.1 off the east coast of Honshu, Japan on the 14th, which is today's date at 14:22. Magnitude 6.1, 36.1 degree north by 142.1 degree east off the east coast of Honshu. 6.1 is not going to be good. We know what Fukushima is doing right now. Now that can only fester the matter. I'm looking for more to come up on it. Stay tuned. God bless you all. 6.1. Take care.
I wanted to give you a quick update on some things that have been going on over at Fukushima. And there's been a little bit of misinformation that has been given out by TEPCO. And that was disproved today. Now, this is a video of the reactors from a couple of nights ago, and the ocean is actually behind the reactors here, and you can see a large amount of what appears to be smoke or steam that is coming out of the direction of reactor 2 and 3. And if you recall, 2 is the one who's been having problems with the temperature controls in the reactor pressure vessel, which if you go back and you search the news, you'll see that the containment was compromised, and that was known by the electric company that runs the site, TEPCO, and it was known by Prime Minister Kan. And it was also known by the NRC and our government all the way back in the beginning of April. And they buried this story, and they keep pretending that everything is okay at these reactors, that they're in cold shutdown, and that is just complete bullshit. You cannot have cold shutdown of a cracked reactor vessel where the fuel has leaked out and is in the ground. Now, there may be some remnants of the fuel remaining in that reactor vessel. In fact, there was an endoscope that was done on reactor 2 about 4 weeks ago, and since then there has been a steady increase of one of the temperature gauges after they poked a hole in this reactor to look around. Now, if you look at videos of what that film showed, there were actual gamma rays being visualized on the film. They were not able to locate the fuel. There's obviously some kind of fuel in there that would be causing these gamma rays to occur. But, you know, now, a few nights ago, we have smoke and steam that are pouring out of it. This is not the only video that documents this. There's several on this guy's site where you can see there's been steam coming out of pipes. There's been steam coming out of the ground at night. These are not fog events. After watching these cameras for 10 months, I know the difference between fog that's rolling in and steam that's coming out of the ground. The problem is that steam is not just steam, it's radioactive steam. And uranium has a tendency to, once it starts reacting, and it doesn't need any special circumstances to start reacting, it can just bounce off other electrons and it spreads like a wet. And if it starts at one reactor, it can spread to the pools. They've had problems cooling the pools lately. And TEPCO has been saying, well, they think that the temperature gauge might be broken because there's 2 other gauges in there and they seem to be okay. And yesterday a report came out saying that another temperature gauge that's in the containment vessel around that vessel is also reporting high. And a Washington blog came out today also saying that the temperature now and the goal is to keep it under 80 degrees Celsius to maintain cold shutdown status. And what's actually happening, let me find my thing here, where is it? Fukushima reactor temperature surpasses 752 degrees, more than 4 times maximum for cold shutdown. This was posted on a Washington blog yesterday. That's over 400 degrees Celsius. Now today, Fukushima Diary, who has been following the story since the get-go, he has had several people who are working on the Fukushima site that have been giving him information. He had a phone conversation with a nuclear worker and a former worker at the Fukushima site who said, in short, if the temperature goes up to 600 to 700 degrees Celsius, reactor 2 will explode. Now, considering that the fuel probably isn't even in that reactor, it's in the ground underneath, that in itself is really not as big of a concern. But what the concern is, any kind of fission that develops can infect the other reactors, the corium in the ground, and the spent fuel pools that are on site. And there's 6 of them, plus a common spent fuel pool that's in the ground. If this fission reaction starts occurring, this would be very, very bad. This is probably the worst thing that could possibly happen outside of a hydrovolcanic explosion. And the architect of Reactor 3 has been saying for months that that could happen any day because of the corium that's fissioning in the ground. Today, there was a report that came from Tohoku University saying that all the faults underneath the plant have been activated, and that one good shake on that site could cause the spent fuel pool to fall. But if these reactors and the corium and the spent fuel pools all start infecting each other, which could very well happen with how things are falling apart at that site, what we would have to do over here is do the same thing if one of our major cities was nuked and any of us lived downwind from that. And I'm going to enclose some links at the bottom. And this is not to scare people. This is to tell you what the government is not telling you, what TEPCO isn't telling you, what Japan isn't discussing, and this could happen any day. And based on the earthquakes that are going on over there, on the cameras, the radioactive steam that's pouring out of the ground, the temperature that's rising in this reactor, and the fact that today TEPCO decided to come clean and say that xenon had been detected in the Reactor 2 containment vessel. Xenon is a product of uranium fission, so that means that there is recriticalities that are going on. It doesn't say what the detection limits are. There's a possibility that this detection has been ongoing this whole time. We have fluctuations in the cesium levels in the last few days. They've been really high in Tokyo. Today, if you look at the weather maps, Fukushima is right here. Everything's blowing out to the ocean today, and that's what's forecasted for the next few days. And I checked a couple different weather sites to confirm this. So we go to our animation of the jet stream, and let me just pull this down a little bit so you can see dates. This would be Sunday. Here we go. This is today. So whatever's been released in the last 2 to 3 days at the plant is hitting right here now. And this looks like the pattern that it's going to be for the rest of this week. So we're talking everything from the southern coastal areas of Alaska and coastal areas of British Columbia. That includes Vancouver, Seattle, Portland, Northern California, all the way down to probably LA. These areas would have to shelter indoors for a period of 2 to 4 weeks, and that's not me saying that. That's what the Civil Defense research had indicated would have to happen in order to protect the health and welfare of our citizens if there was a nuclear attack. This is a nuclear attack that's been happening. But if we have some kind of fission event that infects the other pools at that site, the significance of this is going to go up substantially, and it needs to be taken very seriously.
Two Minnesota environmental and public interest groups released a report today suggesting there's a threat of drinking water becoming contaminated by nuclear power plants along the Mississippi. Several researchers briefed reporters at the Red Wing Public Library, reporting that almost 1 million people could be affected by contaminated drinking water if a leak or accident occurs at a nuclear power plant. After the nuclear meltdown in Fukushima, Japan last year, researchers began checking into possible contamination of water for residents living within 50 miles of an active nuclear power plant. The groups claim 75% of nuclear power plants have leaked tritium, a radioactive hydrogen that has been known to cause cancer and genetic defects. And they want the government to start paying closer attention.
The foundation of Excel's monitoring of equipment and programs date back to the 1970s. And if they're asking us, the communities, to host an aging plant for another 20 years, it seems reasonable that they should respond cooperatively to our monitoring concerns.
Xcel Energy responded with a statement saying, quote, "When we've found elevated tritium levels, none high enough to be a public health concern, we've investigated the case, increased our monitoring, and made changes as warranted." The environmental groups are asking the U.S. to complete safety reviews of all power plants and focus more on clean, renewable energy.
High levels of radioactive cesium has been detected in noodles produced in Okinawa, apparently because they were made with water filtered by the ashes from Fukushima-produced wood. The noodles, called Okinawa soba, had a level of radioactivity of 258 becquerels of cesium per kilogram. The restaurant that produced them had kneaded them with water filtered by the ashes of the Fukushima prefecture-produced wood. So, ongoing. And Arnie Gunderson, they are creating 100 to 1,000 times more radioactive material by burning the debris than keeping it in concentrated form. You got to remember they're burning this radioactive debris in open furnaces and dumping the ashes into the rivers at night.
Hello everybody, today is February 15th, 2012. It's currently 2:17 in the afternoon Central Daylight Time. It is about 4 a.m. there in China on the 16th. They're a day ahead of us. I want to show you this because this is unit number 4 and it is smoking right here. The camera's wiggling because this tower camera that's up on the hill overlooking the facility is being blown by the wind. You can see streams of smoke coming up. Now that's just not smoke, that's also radioactive gases, hydrogen, God knows what else, plutonium, cesium, all that really nasty stuff.